Welcome, everybody. This is the Denku podcast. I'm your host, Tayamu Denku. It's presented by Cypher Den Music. And tonight, my homie, veteran MC in the building, Gant. What is going on, man? What is going on?
Chilling, man. Chilling. Just stopped raining after 5 days. So just walked outside for the first time.
Oh shit. That's crazy because I think it rained for like one of the first times here in a minute, and I got completely drenched on my walk from my car into my regular job shit this morning. It was actually a terrible experience. I hated every moment of it.
Man, I just realized that I haven't bought an umbrella in 3 years. And I keep saying I'm going to buy one. But back in the day, I used to work at bars. So like you cannot work at a bar and ever buy an umbrella. It's a curse. Because you're always gonna find one somewhere. Some drunk dude left one there. So I just stopped buying them, and then I just noticed I haven't had one. So I'm like, every time I'm walking out, I'm like, yo, what's wrong? And I'm like, I haven't bought a fucking umbrella. And every time I say I'm gonna buy one, I never do it. Even those like little $3 joints you buy in New York, you immediately you pop them open, those shits turn inside out. So yeah, I've been getting drenched too, is my point.
I don't even know where my umbrellas are in my house. I have no idea.
Need some fancy umbrella now, man. I need some like fucking penguin shit that shoots poison.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
That'd be the shit, man. That would be the shit. But yeah, man. So it's crazy. I've known you for a long time, actually.
Yeah,
I think we met way back in the MySpace era.
Yeah.
I feel like I had you on. I used to
my top eight.
Yeah. And I used to book all the people that we were going to interview on our radio show at UIC, and we got you on there one time. I don't even know if you remember that. This is,
you know what? I would candidly say that probably in that era I was heavily into using other substances, and I do remember though, but I don't remember what I said. So
it's still out there somewhere. I think it's on like what did we use back then? SoundClick. I think it's on
SoundClick.
It's on SoundClick somewhere. Like somewhere it's out there.
I was having a little too much fun back then.
Oh, I feel you, man. I mean, the younger days, man. But yeah, I think back then you were I think I first heard of you working with nonfiction back then.
Yes.
Ill Bill, nonfiction. But I actually didn't even know this. I was doing some random research stuff today, and you won was it a rap battle on MTV, like Direct Effects or something?
Yeah. And it's crazy because that followed me for a long time because it just had such a big exposure, and that was a gift and a curse, like it was like I had to be maybe 20 when that happened. And the way that they did that back then was and something that you might agree with me on, but like back then you would battle over beats.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of, you didn't necessarily prepare for your opponent. You kind of you went off top. You might have had a couple lines or something like that. But yeah, it was at back when MTV was in Times Square, and they had like Total Requests Live, and people would be throwing up signs for fucking NSYNC or something like that. And then right after Total Requests Live was Direct Effect, which was their MTV's version of the hip hop show. Unfortunately, at that era, like the number one video every week was like Ja Rule and Ashanti or something like that. But they decided to do MC battles, and I was watching it, like just probably the same way like you're watching, and for a long time they were just putting a bunch of like just crumbs on on that stage, man. And I'm like, damn, where are like the MCs at? And then they started to bring on some like actual rappers. They brought on Breeze Everflowing, who was the,
Oh yeah.
legend Blaze Battle. He was the man, and he just started just decimating clowns. Then they started giving him some actual MCs to battle. I think on there, if I remember correctly, he battled like E-Dub from back in the, like, but
Okay.
I was foaming at the mouth, and I had to connect through, like, I at that point I had gotten kind of like a semi-manager, and he knew Sway, and I was like, yo, I want to do this shit so bad, man. I want to get up there. I know I could I know I could do this. And I was watching every week, and Breeze was just, just brrr. So finally he's like, yo, I think they're gonna let you go up there. And then, of course, I had a little bit of a fan base at that point. And back then, you weren't on the gram arguing about stuff. You were on the forums. You were on
Yeah.
undergroundhiphop.com. You were in the trenches, and there was a lot of chatter going back and forth. This dude El Gant's gonna come. He can actually rap. And me and Breeze had a little bit of a friendly back and forth on these forums. So when it was time to go up there, it was serious. He was like it was like a Rocky movie. We're staring at each other, and the whole nine. But I think I say he's a superior battle MC, but I just think he was used to not having to put forth the effort. So I think that particular battle I won. And he gave it to me at the end in his raps, which was like a huge, and I have so much respect for him. And then I went on. I think I was on there for like 4 weeks, man. I battled rest in peace. I battled PH Pumpkinhead,
No word.
legend. I battled
Yeah.
Four
Yeah.
Eyes, who's the homie, like and then I can't remember the name of the fourth guy, but I just remember that his girlfriend wanted to fight me outside after the battle because I kind of got a little too disrespectful. But
Hey man, you know what it is in battles, man. Don't bring your girl to a battle because if they're there, you never know what's gonna happen.
he was, I remember, like, now that we're talking about it, I remember that because at this point, so they were doing it live, like in time, like on the stage in Times Square, and the internet was good enough, I think, at that point where you could actually like vote online from home, and they did that for 3 weeks, and then the fourth week I went in there, they're like, yo, by the way, we're going to pre-record this one, and Funk Flex was the DJ for the battles, and he said we're going to have a guest celebrity judge, and Flex and the judge are going to vote for the winner, and it was Missy Elliott, which was crazy,
Oh
and
damn.
it was in a small room this time. Now there was only like 30 people in the room. It wasn't like 150, and I met the dude, and he was real cool. He's like, yo, no matter what happens, it's a battle, it's competition. I'd love to do a song with. And I was like, yeah, man, absolutely. Like, and I could tell he had come pretty prepared for this battle, but I was ready back. But I said something about you couldn't deliver something sick if your chick had an abortion or something like that at the end. And maybe I struck a chord, I don't know, but I walked out, and he was like, yo man, if it's cool, man, like nobody make eye contact with my girl, like she's pretty mad. And I was with like a whole crew too, and she started yelling at me. She's like, fuck you, you're a midget. She was just yelling shit. Like she was she was just yelling like lunchroom disses. She wasn't even battling. But I mean, whatever, man. All that stuff makes you stronger. But at the end of the day, like that gave me a lot of opportunities, but it also gave me a lot of it also like gave me a lot of bullshit headaches.
Hmm.
And then that was for years, man. Every time I saw a flyer with my name on it, it was like MTV Direct Effect Battle Champion El Gant. I'm like, damn, man, like that shit was 10 years ago, 15 years. I kept going. I was like, yo, everyone stop with the, I released a bunch of music, man. Just put MC El Gant's performing tonight, And
and
then,
that's and that's crazy because, like I said, I didn't even know this.
see, and I'm happy about that. That's good. It was funny, man. And like I had everything happened so fast, and I had a lot of record label offers. And I think about that now, man. Like I think the one thing that I could proudly say, which I think that you are in that same realm, you get approached and asked to do a lot of different types of records throughout the different kinds of hip hop that's occurred in the past 20, 30 years. So in that era, at that time, I'm getting asked to like do like these, like, it was like the Triton era, the Triton beats, I got asked to do like the crump music. I got asked to do, and I was just like, man, like, I don't, that's not my thing, man. I like fucking hip hop, man. I'm a hip hop
Yeah.
kid. And I think that, I always, I always shunned away from it and said no, to which point I had like, some famous people like kind of mad at me. Like I remember I said this the other day to somebody. I remember getting called to go to like Damon John's office, that who's now on Shark Tank but owned Fubu. And I remember going to his
Mm.
office with my other manager at the time, and he was like talking about his label and rock and Fubu, and I was just like, yo, I'm like this isn't for me. And he's like, what I'm doing right now. Fubu Records just did Fatty Girl. And like he was real mad, but I was like, I don't know, man. I think I'm good. I think I'm good with this stuff. So a lot of shit like that happened. I just mentioned this recently too, that a lot of
Oh,
people did.
hold on, hold on, hold on. That literally made me think of real quick. That literally made me think of uh that movie with the hip hop Dalmatians. You love what was that? Love it's not Love and Hip Hop. Is it? Is it hip hop? There was literally man, I can't remember the movie. It was like Tay Diggs was in it.
I don't remember the name. I know the movie you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah. And then like he's like a record exec, and then he brings on like the hip hop Dalmatians and
Bro,
shit.
but it was like a lot of shit like that, and I just wanted to make records. And at the time, so my first album was called It's Over. I had already had that album completed, and I recorded that album with King Shamik, from Twin Height. Like he produced this album. My brother did a ton of production. I had Elda Sensei on it, Pace One, and this is like 2001, bro. So
Yeah,
like
early, early.
my album was like a raw hip hop album, and I got this wild record deal before I even went on MTV that I wish I hadn't signed at the time, but it was like distributed through Warner Brothers. Then there was another label and another label. It was like you're 10 labels in. And I remember like the album was supposed to come out. Cool Keith was on the album. Like he was
Mm.
like, and this was just before anyone even knew who I was. It was just merit, just MCs. I didn't pay for a feature. Like it was just like, yo, you're dope. We're gonna do this album. And then when I got on MTV, like the label caught wind. They're like, yo, we're gonna put this album out. And then and when that album came out, they're like, well, let's try something different this time. Like let's try to maybe change it up and do some more commercial hits. And I was like, because back then, especially, like there wasn't streaming. Like a lot of rappers got lazy and they did one or two songs that sold the singles, because then you had to buy the album. So they didn't give a fuck about the content. So that
Yeah.
at that point, I got the MTV fame, and it was crazy because I'm walking around New York and people were like, "Oh, you're that kid from the show," which was cool. But at the same time, I got offered a lot of dumb shit, like the Fubu thing. And then I remember I got introduced to another manager that was helping out, that apparently had managed LL Cool J, and he was a good guy, but he had these crazy ideas for me. And he sat me down once in I was in Lightyear, which is distributed by We. It's a big distribution company. They had like Milkbone at the time, and like AMG, like, but
Okay.
they sat me down at the table and they're like, okay, we got a great idea for you. This is how you're gonna pop. And by the way, like I'm like, why don't we just put the music out? Let's see if that pops. They're like, no, we're gonna, it's that flash in the pan shit. So they all of a sudden Marley Marl comes in the room, and I'm like, starstruck. It's Marley, man. It's a legend. And he sits down and he doesn't even really know what the meeting's about. And he's like, okay, so here's what's gonna happen. You know, M's got Dre, you're gonna have Marley, and you guys are gonna go at M and Dre. And I
Oh
remember, like,
shit.
I mean, I was already like, my mind was already like, fuck no. But Marley's like, nah, I think I'm good with that, man. Having not even heard me yet, but like, he wasn't feeling it, and why should he? It was crazy. So like, it was like crazy shit like that started happening after like the MTV thing. Like I said, there were some good opportunities, but there were some real weird ass ones too, man. But it was an experience. And then like when you battle on that stage, then everyone wants to battle you too. And it's like
Mm.
I'm not a I always say this, I feel like when I'm writing music, I'm using one side of my brain. When I'm going off the top, I'm using the other side of my brain. Like it's just how my brain operates. So so a lot, like I was just like, I wasn't into battling, like I love battle rappers. I loved watching it, but I was like, and I always rhymed off the top, but I wasn't trying to do the who's funnier than who on the mic. I like to jump in and out of it, but I wasn't trying to make a career out of it because I
Yeah.
felt like once you make a career out of it, then all of a sudden you get pigeonholed as a battle rapper. And I really wanted to make songs. And that's how I felt at the time. So I really kind of backed away from it. I'm like, man, I just did this to shine, like I just did it to like show my skills on national television. But there's a lot of bullshit that clearly came along with it.
Yeah, I mean you're definitely a song maker. Dope songs. And you don't fall in the category, like I said, I didn't even know about the battle shit, and you don't fall in the category where if you were a battle rapper where battle rappers can't make songs. There's that stereotype that's out there. I don't know if you've heard that, but they're
I've heard that,
literally.
yeah, and I think there's a lot of them that can't, but I know there's a lot that there's a fair amount that I think could.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I've heard some
there
good
definitely
songs from
are.
battle rappers, like for sure.
I mean, I used to battle a whole lot.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I
but I
mean,
think I think I think it was different. And correct me if if your opinion's different, but like I think when like especially guys like us started, like you battled to get heard, like you battled because like, and you were hungry and like you just and it's sharpening your blades.
hmm
Um,
yeah,
I think battling has become a sport at this point. It's become its own thing. Um,
yeah.
so like I think what it's become has changed. Everyone, like when you came up in the especially the 90s, like you if you didn't stand in a cipher, I don't care if you battled or not, like no one had respect for you, man. Like if you couldn't hold your own in that cipher.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, it's a whole different game now, man. I mean, the art of like off the top freestyle shit is so far it's very dead. Like I barely hear anybody do it. I always incorporate it in every show I do.
I know I just saw you at the Onyx show, and I've seen a ton of your live shows, like via your Instagram or YouTube, and I was that's what I was talking about earlier before we got on. I feel like your fans test you more than other off the top fans. Like I feel like I've seen people like there's not many people that can do what you do, but the people that have, I feel like a lot of their fans give them layups, like they're like, I feel like your fans give you like fastball sliders, like because you'll be like, start, you're like, all right, everybody's, name some shit, and they're like, the Teapot Scandal, to Tuskegee Airmen, the Voltron Lions, like people really throw you some shit, and then hats off, you fucking run with it. But I feel like a lot of MCs that do what you do don't get tested as much as you. People will give you a whole damn sentence,
Oh
and then
I definitely get crazy shit, man.
you get crazy shit. And so you'll be like, all right, cool, man. All right, so I got Tuskegee Airmen. I got, you know what I'm saying? The Kennedy assassination. Um, Britney Spears conservatory getting cut off. Like, but then the part that really like impresses me is that you'll get thrown 72 things and then remember them in chronologic order, which is a skill in itself. It's like, damn, okay.
Yeah,
It's a lost art. That you are 100% correct.
and yes, I've been asked a number of times how I do that shit, and I don't know, man. I honestly think it's just a born talent thing. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely not. I have no idea how I do it. How I remember, because like I literally remember them in order, freestyle them using all the words in order, and then I
Yeah.
go in reverse and use them all in reverse order. You know what I'm saying? Like
It's
it's
crazy. Yeah, no, I'm really impressed when I watch it, and it's funny because I haven't when I'm with like the homies, like we always like we're listening to music, we're rhyming off the top, we're in the car, we're in the studio or something like that. I like to do that, but I haven't been on stage really and done it in a while, with the exception. So 2 weeks ago, it was in New York. It was the homie Jay Ronan. It was his birthday, so
okay.
he had like Lord Digger there. Yeah, Bernadette, Sean Price's wife, Shabam Sadiq, Elder Sensei. There was someone else who I hadn't seen in a minute come and rap that I was blown away by. But I'm just coming to support. I've rocked his birthday shows in the past, but I just came. It's down the street from where I live in Brooklyn. I'm like, I'm just gonna come and just be a fan and kind of chill. And Koja Dills was there, who also, who's got a reputation. He posts up everywhere and rhymes off the top. He's on Wild and Out, and I see him, and I hadn't seen him in a while. He's like, "Yo, man, you want to jump on stage with me, man? I'm gonna do a freestyle at the end." And I was just like, "Yeah, yeah, cool. I'll kick a verse." Like, no, no, we're gonna go straight off the top. And I'm like, "Yeah, all right." And it was just like one of those, like, that's what you do when you love music, and you're like a professional. That's what you do. Like, you're like, "Yo,
Yeah,
sink or swim, man, get up there." And it ended up being like a really dope, like, him going, not me going, and like, and really like burning the mic. But I'm like, if you're not an MC, like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Like you got to love the sport, man.
exactly, exactly, man. And this new era, this new age is, you know, I still tour all over the U.S. and just seeing different openers and different acts is kind of crazy. Cause um, that the essence was there at and when I was out in New York, the Onyx show, like the
Mm-hmm.
essence, the hip hop essence was there the whole time, pretty much. But then when I do like a lot of these other shows, um, especially I've noticed more around the Midwest, when I do a lot of these other shows, there's a lot of the lost art of MCing. There's a lot of the
I know I'm interviewing you a little bit here too, but do you find, because what I did notice, like, touring in the Midwest and just maybe other regions of the US, and I've seen it in New York too, is that on a hip hop bill, there's a lot of different genres of hip hop. Like, a lot of times, there'll be like a lot of times in New York, though, it's like boom bap. It's a boom bap bill. It's like a rock show. Like, when
Mhm.
there's a rock show,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
one typical kind of hip hop. But I noticed a lot of the shows that we did, especially like the last time I toured in the Midwest, there was dudes rocking. There was a couple like trappy dudes. There was really some Love Willie guy. Like, I noticed that the genres were like mixed up a lot more in the show, which I found difficult, because then there's a lot of fans that you have to appease, because they typically like one style of hip hop.
Yeah, I have noticed it. I can give you a very specific example actually. I played a show in Springfield, Missouri with Onyx. It was the first show I did with Onyx. Um, I opened directly for them. So back to back, we did like the hardcore hip hop shit. But
Yeah.
before we went on, 11 acts,
Hmm.
maybe 12. There was so many acts there. 11 or 12 acts. Everyone, there was one act that literally just you could have turned his mic all the way off because he just did auto tune over his whole set. Like it
Uh,
was
uh,
and like you could have literally turned his whole mic off. Like it didn't even make sense to have it on. But you know what's crazy is that dude had probably the most people in the building.
yeah,
It's
man. He
it's
he was young. His friends were still going out.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. That's definitely a thing. I mean, obviously a majority of my friends that used to just come out to shows as friends, that's not a thing no more because, they're just as old as me. They're not trying to go out to no rap show no more, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
that again. Now you have to get fans, and which I also think separates the, you know, I remember this in New York when I was young. I worked in like the bars. I had a million acquaintances, and so I did a show. And don't get me wrong, like, I had fans, but like I had a million just friends come out. So like everyone knew, if El Gant was on your bill in New York, like a bunch of people were going to show up. And like, to the point where I would get annoyed because I was supposed to go on at a certain time, and I know you've dealt with this before. And, all of a sudden you're getting pushed back
yeah.
because the venue's got 40 of your friends there, and 40 of your friends are buying drinks. So they're like, this place has got to make money if this guy goes on early. So that happened to me a lot, where I kept getting like pushed back towards the end of the night, and I'm like, damn, me having like fans and friends here was working against me. So I think it's good now that like I'm at an age, a lot of my friends have kids, man, and like and wives and shit, and aren't going out at night. So like I'm more determined to develop that fan base,
Yeah.
those real fans, and actually get them there, because I can't really use that as much anymore. Don't
Yeah,
get me wrong,
man.
I still get mad at some of the homies when they don't come out to shows.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, definitely, because yeah, it's worse when they say they're going to
Right.
and then they don't. That's the thing.
Or you see them on a Monday night at some big ass show somewhere that they spent $150 for a ticket for, and I'm like, see, you couldn't come to my show on a Friday, but you can.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally feel you. I want to take so real quick. This I've been wanting to say this since we started talking, because early on you had mentioned that um I'm pretty sure this was you that posted this one time, but you said Missy Elliott was a judge of your direct effect battle. And didn't you have something randomly go viral on TikTok where you rapped over a
Yes.
Missy beat?
Yeah, yeah. Bro, and it was just like a lucky. So apparently this was Christmas, around Christmas time, not this year, but the year before that. And there was some YouTube star, and I don't know these people, but apparently there was a video of this YouTube star, and he like was sleeping with another like famous model or something like that, and he had used like coconut oil, like he was dripping it on her, like heating it up and dripping it on her. But he did the video to Missy Elliott Pass That Dutch, and then like that's what came out. But so I had to be like a million people remixed the video for TikTok and did like their own little funny TikTok skits, like kind of like doing spoofs on this guy. But that Missy Elliott Passed That Dutch wasn't available on TikTok. But
Yeah.
I had a freestyle that I did over Past That Dutch in 2004, I think, that was on TikTok. So when they hit Past That Dutch, it came up Past That Dutch Gant. So it was just me rapping my ass off over this thing. So like, yeah, it hit like millions of times, to the point where I saw like Spotify let me get away with having it on there forever. So like the numbers on Spotify were like crazy. And like, yeah, I saw like I mean, streaming doesn't amount to shit, but I actually saw like a decent sized check from it. So I'm like,
That's what's up.
I'll use
Hey,
this. Yeah, fuck it.
hey,
And then I gained a bunch of fans. A lot of people were like, we were just remixing Missy's video. Then we heard this freestyle you did. The shit's dope. So yeah, it worked out.
that's what's up, man.
Buddy sued me.
So so how did it all start for you, man? How did it like is there a inspiring moment? Is there a specific moment you could think of where you were like, I want to do hip hop, I want to rhyme, I want to be an MC? Is there like how long ago was that, and is there that moment that you can remember?
I think I think for me it happened like the early 90s, maybe early, yeah, I want to say early 90s. I was a kid, and I always knew like hip hop existed as a little kid. I grew up, I listened to a lot of rock. I always loved music. Even at 4 years old, I was like buying records at the store. I was listening to Led Zeppelin and all that stuff, and a lot of like hard rock. But I think I think this like, and I knew during the 80s, I knew Run DMC existed. I thought they were cool, but I knew the bigger names, Fat Boys, and I knew who Houdini was, of course. But I
Yeah.
think it's like towards the late 80s where it really caught my attention. And I think the song that really inspired me to start rapping was EPMD. So What You Saying? I like that.
Mm,
When I heard that
okay.
particular record, I think that was the one that like I was just like, man, this is such a dope, like, man, hip hop's so dope. And then I heard like BDP My Philosophy, and like that.
Mm,
So I remember I recorded something just on my little like, bullshit boombox, over the My Philosophy like instrumental, because I had the, I don't know, like the single or something. Like back then you'd buy singles, you know what I'm saying? You get the A and the B side for $3 at Tape Town. So that's when I kind of wrote my first rap. Um, and then I had a couple of homies in school that were like, one of the dudes is still one of my best friends to this day. who actually fled here to the US from Uganda. His father was assassinated by like the Ugandan government. He was a hero. His father led the coup to overthrow Idi Amin. He was a super intelligent dude, but got thrown in a crazy situation. And him and his brother were rapping, and they had a lot to say. And they are freestyle. They're off the head. So I just started sitting in like the crib with these dudes at 12, 13 years old, and we would just rap. We would just to this day, these two still go off the top. Like I don't like
That's what's up.
they're still like my like it's like where I go to spar, just to check how nice I am still. But that's when I really started to rap, and we had formed a group, and I think, oh, man, we formed a group. We were called the Clips. He was like, "Yo, we're gonna be Eclipse," and we started writing songs, man. And then there was a dude in our town another dude, my man Monstar, that like he was like, "Yo, you can." I grew up in Poughkeepsie, New York, and like he was like in the city of Poughkeepsie, and he would pick us up and bring us to his crib, and just like we started recording like demos, man. And I actually
That's dope.
got my first beat for $20. We all put our money, and I bought it off this dude Paul Nice, he's known for like anyone that deep in the hip hop realm. Like he put out a lot of breakbeat records. He did like the remix for Root Down, like legendary dude, man. And he's actually from Poughkeepsie as well. So we started just recording joints, man. And I was kind of off to the races. And then being like the only, especially at that time, I was the only white dude rhyming around where I was. So it was kind of like a novelty, but I would battle everybody in the cafeteria, of course. And I just
Yeah.
always was kind of like a level above mostly everybody else. And then I took it more serious when I got to college. When I got to college, you're in a different atmosphere at that point. And there was some
Mhm.
LMCs that went to my school. There was like J Live went to my
Oh,
school,
okay.
so
That's
I
what's
would
up.
watch him perform. Mr. Metaphor from Brooklyn Academy went to my school, and
Mm.
that's when like sound bombing was hitting. So like I was a huge fan of that. Um, BK lived downstairs from me. That's how we met. And like so like now
That's
I had
what's
to
up.
really come with it. And then that's when I'm like, all right, this is what I'm doing. And as soon as I got out of school, I went directly down to New York and just started showing up at showcases and just rapping my ass off.
That's dope, man. Yeah, man. I mean, I always think about um like for me it's way different. You know what I'm saying? Like I was gonna move to New York at one point in time. I think it was like 2000 and 2008, 2009. I was talking about it. I was thinking about it. Um because I wanted to be around everything. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like being here, I mean, there are people that, that talk shit to me about the feature game I got sometimes. There are people that talk shit about it. And then there's other people that praise it and think it's crazy, like, oh, collab Kong, like you do all
It
this
is
shit.
crazy in a good way.
But the thing is I love collabing, but another reasoning behind all of that is I'm here. I'm in Milwaukee.
Right.
Milwaukee is not known for the type of hip hop shit that me and you like. It's not
Right.
known for that here. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I do. That's what I've always loved to do. That's the style that I do. I like to play around with words. I'm real nice off the top. Like it's what it is. But they don't care about it here. They don't care about that. That's why I constantly get like the cold shoulder. It's and people say, "Oh, well, people don't really fuck with you until you really blow up." But the thing about it is, I get that, but I don't know if they would still even fully fuck with me if something happened because of the type of shit that I do. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I really think it is, man, and I've dealt with this in the past too. If you're walking into like I don't know, a gymnasium, and everybody just like is real fucking mediocre at basketball, it's like a fucking YMCA, and everyone like no one's really good. It's a bunch of like just bullshit dudes are doing old school layups and shit, and Pete Maravich fucking moves, and then you go in there and all of a sudden cross everybody over. You're ruining their narrative. You're ruining their reality. So like
Mm,
if you excel, if you're a level above everyone else at what you do, no one's going to be like, unless you're famous, because then they can attach themselves to it. They're not, they don't want you in their gym because they're like, damn, man, we were having a good time. And then this guy came in, because then they have to realize that maybe they're not as good as they thought they were. And the reality is they're not. And I've seen that a lot. I've done so many shows where like it's just been these mediocre shows, and just came in there and just barred out, and like everyone's just like, wow, that's crazy. But at the same time, they got to take a look in the mirror. But I think location wise, I think that having to go to New York or LA a long time ago was really a thing. It's like acting, like you had to go to the city. I think with the information age now, like people are building, they're building movements within their own towns because they can connect. And I think you're the perfect example of that. There's a lot of, I've been in LA a bunch of times. There's a lot of coattail hangers. It's not going to make them, it's not going to make them bigger by geographically living there. And I think a lot of artists in New York too, because I've seen it. Like everyone that I've ever had a relationship with that's been like a bigger artist, I made a genuine connection with. Like I didn't even talk to them about rap. Like they just may have seen me rap, and which I had the opportunity, which is good. But like I never talked to them about it. Like I just built like a genuine foundation with those people, similar to like you with like Onyx, for example. You know what I'm saying? Like you built this connection with those guys.
Yeah.
So I do think that like it used to apply, and having to move to like a city and do that. But really, think about it now. Like if you came here at this age and you're like, I'm going to move to New York to expand my career, it's the same thing everyone else is doing now. They're showing up at the same shows and watching the same, 8 people rock every week, and it's
Yeah,
that's
you're right. It is way different now. It is
yeah.
way
But
different.
back then it was a thing for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. And that's why I went to New York. I grew up upstate, but there was no opportunities upstate then. And similar to your situation, a lot of when I did the MTV thing, when I put the album out, people couldn't stand me in Poughkeepsie. Like my friends liked me, but people were mad because I raised the bar. So like I remember listening to the local radio station, which I listened to all the time because they would play like real hip hop like on the weekends. And I remember there was a couple dudes that were trashing me to the point where I went and saw them. I was like, yo, what's up, man? And they really couldn't come up with a discernible reason as to why they didn't like me. But it's like I fucked
They
their
never
narrative.
can. They
No,
never
they had a
can.
whack. They were part of a whack ass crew, and their crew was all everyone liked around there. And then I came and shot a bunch of Chris Mullen fucking 3-pointers over their heads, and they were like, "Fuck this guy." Yeah. Which I say, if people aren't hating on you, you're doing something wrong.
Oh yeah.
If
Yeah,
people aren't
definitely.
talking about you at all, like I said, there's nothing worse to me than a mediocre rapper. Like I'd rather you suck and try, and like at least it's interesting to me, or be really good. There's nothing worse than being painfully mediocre. It's like it's the worst, man. It's like watching fucking paint dry.
It is terrible. Oh man. That's
People don't.
hilarious.
A lot of
That's
people don't try, man. You've been in this a long time. You see it, like, how many motherfuckers put out the same fucking album repeatedly, talk about the same shit, don't make an effort, don't worry about like bringing other artists with them, on these dope artists on records. Like it's like what they say is the definition of insanity, it's repeating the
mm,
same thing and expecting the result.
yeah. Yeah, man. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You talked connections. Obviously, you have connections with some very top tier people in the game. Um, but like you had mentioned, you make genuine connections with these people. So can you how do some of these connections happen? Like at shows, like because obviously you've worked with Premier, you've toured with Premier, you worked
Mm-hmm.
with um nonfiction. I'm assuming you probably toured with them too, right? Like non no.
I did some dates with them, and because I was on the Beatnuts album in 2003, the Originators.
Hmm.
And them and Nonfiction were on tour together, and I did the West Coast leg with them, which I saw some crazy shit on that tour. Nothing that they did, but I saw like I saw a wild ass fight in San Francisco with a guy trying to get Nonfiction's autograph, and he was drunk and wouldn't leave, and it was
Damn.
pretty fun. But yeah, man, I like, for example, like Premiere. Um, I had seen Premiere many times before that, just as a fan. I remember one time I was on a plane in like 2014. I was flying back and I had a connecting flight in Philly and I was with my girl and I was like, yo, that's DJ Premier sitting in like the, second row. And Preem was busy. He was working on something, but he waited for everybody to get off the plane before he got off. And I had walked by and I'm like, I was nervous as shit because I mean, there's certain people, not many people make me nervous, but I'm like, this is Premier. And I was like, Premier, you're dope. He was like, thanks. But then fast forward, I had the opportunity to meet him because he for a long time he was on Sirius doing live from headquarters,
Mhm.
and which was such a dope show because he always, even at that point in his career, has his ear to the street. He's always listening to like what's next. You've had records get played on there, and I didn't know at the time that he ever played anything of mine, but I went up there in 2015 with Raz. Raz had a project out, which is a whole nother way I met Raz long before that. And I was just a quiet dude in the background. I just wanted to go up to the show because I'm like, it's fucking Premiere. So he thought when I got up there, he thought I was this particular producer that produced Raz's this project. I can't even remember the name of this guy at this point, but so Preem's like, hey, you could sit in the chair. There's a mic right there. And I'm like, okay. And then somebody goes, hey, that's not blah, blah, blah. They're like, that's his name is El Gant. And then Preem goes, oh, El Gant, I play one of your songs. You got a song with Torre. It's dope. And I was like, wow. He goes, he's like, stay in that chair. And I was like, okay. So I rarely do I get nervous. Anyone that knows me, like I'm pretty, pretty good with that kind of stuff. But then they go back on air and he's like, yeah, we got Razkaz here. Also, we got El Gant here. And I go, thank you. He goes, thank you. I didn't even thank me for what? So like him and I just had this friendly like banter back. And then at the end of the show, he's like, I'm gonna play this El Gant record since he's sitting here right now. So after the show, everybody's talking and a lot of people were trying to impress him. And I get it. It's Premiere. So Premiere's like, what's everybody doing after this? And everyone's like, we're going to the, W Hotel, DJ, Sticky Hands is DJ, just throwing. And I don't do that kind of shit. I was like, oh no, my girl has a dive bar downtown, and I'm gonna go eat brisket. She makes good brisket. And he looks at me, he's like, what do you know about brisket? He's from Texas. I'm like, I know it's fucking good. And he's like, can I roll? And I was like, yeah, of course. So he goes, I'm driving. I'm like, okay. So now I'm sitting in the back of Cream's car and I'm just like, this is crazy. I'm texting my girl and I'm like, I don't care who's in this bar right now. Clear a fucking table, kick people out. I'm like, I'm coming there with Premiere. It was me, Premiere, and Raz, and like my manager at the time, Patrick, and maybe like one other person. So we end up sitting there and we have the best night in the world. Him and I are just like, we just had a genuine ass connection. We weren't even talking about music, man. We were just talking about life. And I just think that we're very similar in a lot of ways. So I think he enjoyed that because like we just had this we had this really good back and forth, and that's how we became friends. And after that, it was just like off to we talked every day. And I think that the difference with me and a lot of people is I never angled with him. I never asked him for shit. Like
Yeah,
it's just like
that's what's up.
I like his friendship means more to me than anything else. Anything that he's done for me, he's mentioned. He's like, hey, how about we do this? Or like, or like, hey, if you want to come on this tour. And because I think he's so used to people. I watch it. I watch people walk up to him and just like habitually step lines and like ask him outright for shit, and he's like, you got to talk to my manager. It's like I just never did that, and I just think that he appreciated that, and then we built a friendship. But I mean, same thing with Raz, man. Like I met Raz because I knew his manager, and like I sat at the bar with him one night, and like we just started talking, and then he listened to my music. He went and checked me, and he was like, yo, I want to do some music with you, and then we became friends. Like I think it's that shit instead of me like, you know, I watch people come up to Preem and, like, yo, I got a duffel bag full of money. Literally, I've heard this, if you could do a verse, and he's just like, and he'll say something funny, like, I don't know, that duffel bag could have all ones in it. Like, but I think that's kind of why I've built a lot of connections, just being just I don't want to like because it doesn't sound genuine if I say I'm a genuine dude, but I just think I've never angled with anybody to the point where like there's probably times I could have angled and gotten a lot with other people and throughout my career, and it's just something I won't do, man. Like I play the long game.
I feel that. That's
I
dope,
might
man.
be, yeah, maybe I'll be 80 one day and some crazy shit's gonna happen. maybe my
Hey,
game's too long. I don't know.
you were talking about Raz. So, how did the conversation come up to create the JMO gang?
That happened. He was in New. It was around. I was around that same time actually. He was in New York because he always he was living in New York for a long time back in the day. He had a manager at the time that lived in New York, and that's how I originally met him. So I saw him years ago. Years ago, I met him at this bar, and I met him in like 2000. I want to say like 2006 or seven. And he was sitting at the end of the bar, and I was just always a big Razcast fan. Like Assassination was one of my,
Oh yeah, dope,
one of
cold.
my so he was sitting at the end of the bar, and I'm like 24 at the time. I thought I was cool, and he has this one line in his on Assassination. He's like, orange chicken, that's Hennessy and orange juice that we sipping. And I'm like, oh, I think Raz invented this drink. So like I sat at the bar and no one else was at it. And the bartender's like, what do you have? And I'm like, let me get an orange chicken. The guy's like, yo, what's that? I'm like, Hennessy and orange juice. And Raz looks at me like, I'm like, hey, what's up, Raz? So, and then I didn't see him in years, and that we became tight again later on. So fast forward though, he's in town, and he would sometimes he would stay at the crib with me, which was I've had some really crazy. When Razzie stays at your crib, just be prepared. Anyway, by the way, it was Razzie's birthday recently. Happy birthday to Raz.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
he
yeah.
so anyway, he was in town and J57 hit me up and was like, "Hey, J57 produced a song off Method Man's album that year. He had a song called The Purple Tape with Raekwon and Inspector Deck. So they were doing the video shoot for it in Brooklyn. And J57's like, yo, why don't you guys come to the video shoot? Like, it would be cool if you guys maybe jumped in the video." And I was like, cool, it's by the crib. Like, anytime anything's by the crib, I'm showing up. If
Hey,
I gotta
why
go
not?
into bro, if I gotta go into Manhattan, like I'm gonna think about it maybe 2 or 3 times. But so Raz is like, hell yeah. Of course, Raz walks in, he knows everybody because Raz. And then that night we were talking, and Jay's like, hey, why don't you guys come to my crib like tomorrow? We'll just maybe listen to some beats. And I told Raz, I'm like, yo, Jay's nice with the beats, man. Like, I'm like, he's someone that you definitely want to go to his crib. So next day, me and Raz go over there. J57's waiting with a bottle of Jameson. At the time he drank, he knows that Raz loves Jameson. He knows that if a drink comes out, I'll have a drink. So anyway, we end up doing 4 joints in like a matter of 3 hours. It was just one of those natural, like everything just came out dope. But then you know how this is as an artist. Sometimes you got to go listen the next day and be like, was that as dope as I thought it was? Like,
Yeah.
when sometimes you record and the next day you're like, ah. But the next day we were like, yo, this is really dope. So that following night, I went with Raz because he may have been here at the time, like doing press for the Apollo Brown album, because he was
Mm.
doing a lot of interviews. So we went up to Static Selector shows on Show Off Radio, and Static's like, "Oh, what have you been up to?" He's like, "Oh, well, me and El Gant and J57 were just in the studio. We just recorded a bunch of songs. We're gonna put a project out." And then Static's like, "What are you gonna call it?" And Raz is like, "I don't know. Like, we drank a lot of Jameson. We're gonna be the JMO Gang." So we were just like, that's what it's going to be called. And then we proceeded to record the EP, and then the following year recorded the entire album. So
Yeah.
it was just a very natural, again, natural. Like I wasn't trying to like put a square piece in a circle hole.
That's what's up, man. So was that just one period of time, or was there going to be something else? Like
I
a
mean, the three of us are still like, I mean, I have separate relationships with Razzie and Jay. They're both really good homies, um, and we all get along really well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we worked on something else.
hmm.
Jay is very busy right now. He's doing a lot of cool shit. He's got his hands in so many things, and I'm proud of him. Like he's working on from scoring films and shit, like,
That's
but
dope.
he has a lot of love for that project. Raz is always busy, but I could see us doing another project. I think if the first one of us to throw up the flag and be like, all right, let's make some records because we tend to do them pretty quickly too. But that album, unfortunately, that album came out 3 months after COVID dropped. Oh,
Yeah.
that shit went like it was a weird
Yeah,
time.
there's an album that I dropped in the COVID time frame, and I want to re-release it because I feel like it didn't get,
Yeah,
what I'm
it's that
saying,
old
like
tree falls in the forest, man. Like it was tough to drop something then, and if you believe in that work, fucking drop that shit again.
yeah, I mean, so me and so yeah, the project I dropped during that time was The Darker Side of Light, and I had some crazy shit on there. And so me and Both had actually went back. He remixed the songs I have videos for, and um
I remember this.
and
Yeah,
and
you
then
got some crazy shit going on.
he also did remix the features that came out as singles. He remixed those so we can kind of re-jump all that shit. So it's like I think he redid the 38 Special joint. I think he redid the Cambada joint. Um, and then he redid the videos I did. I shot two videos for that album.
Where's both that located?
He's in Hanover, Germany.
Okay, I never knew. Yeah, because he's dope. I just didn't. I'm like, I feel like he's in you.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? A majority of all producers I've fucked with over all my years of rhyming, which I've been doing this almost 30 years now.
Mhm.
Um, all international, majority
My
have
next
been.
album is completely produced by a dude in Portugal,
That's
um,
what's up.
who I discovered. Um, and I've got not that I'm like the coolest dude in the room by any means, but I've gotten hit up by a lot of like producers with names to do projects. But it always comes back to, man, like, am I feeling it? So like,
I
and
feel
like
that.
some stuff I
Yeah.
feel, some stuff I wouldn't. But I was sitting maybe a year and a half ago on a call with a couple homies that do like a producers. They do a little conference call they have with all different producers, and I was actually doing an interview with Raz, and Raz will never forgive me for this. So they were like, "Yo, a couple producers want to play some joints, or we'll play you some joints. There's dudes from all over the world." And I was like, "You got time for that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." And Raz had to jump off to do something else, so he plays me this one dude, man, and like I just hear like three straight bangers, and I'm like, "Who is this guy?" They're like, "Yo, his name is Martello. He's in Portugal." And I'm like, "Connect me with him." So him and I like start talking, and then fast forward, we have an entire album done, and he's one of my favorite producers, and he lives in the middle of fucking nowhere in Portugal. Um, but then it was meant to be. I went to Portugal last year. I was on a trip, and then I went up to Porto, where and Raz happened to be staying there at the time. It's where in the world is Razzie? I just happened to be there. Raz is like, man, I'm in Porto right now. He's like, I'm with There's a dude. He's one of the biggest artists out of Porto, Mundo Segundo, dope ass artist. I went up there and visited them, and then Martello knew Mundo, so it was like a small world. So we finally met in person, and we're just like, oh man, this was meant to be. But yeah, there's so many dope cats international, man.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. You got a set date for that coming, or
uh, I don't. I want to say the spring. Everything's pretty much done and mixed. It's just going to depend on. I want to do vinyls, and I kind of want to coordinate the release with it. So yeah, probably the spring.
yeah, man. That's what's up. That's what's
But I
up.
got it's got to I didn't like my last album was a little bit more feature heavy, but I mean I got Raz on it, Wise P,
Mm,
Napoleon the Legend, Shabam Sadiq. Uh, I didn't go crazy. Oh, copyrights on it. I mean, a really dope
okay,
joint copyright. But
that's what's
yeah,
up.
most of it just me kind of gunning for it.
That's dope, man. Yeah, that's what's up. Do you do okay? So I've never met anybody that uh records as much as I do.
No, no, there's because there is nobody that.
Like, I was just wondering, is it so? Like, is this album when you work on a project, do you work on a project and then formulate how you're going to release that project? You don't go to any other, you don't work on anything else in between there, or like this is your
Very hard
focus?
for me. It's very hard to do that, and I know that albums exist differently now. Like I'm not making an album with, crazy, like you got to listen to it from front to back, but I do still think about it like that. I still think about, tracking it front to back, but it's very hard for me personally to work on different projects at the same time. And it's just the way that I work. I say this, but I finished an EP with one of my homies from Albany, this dude Scheist, who's really dope. And actually Ill Bill's going to be on that. He's the only feature on it. I did do that while I was doing this album, and I did a lot of features. Not a lot, but like I don't do too many features. I just do it if I'm feeling it, and
Yeah.
but it's hard for me to branch out and do different. I was like, and it's funny because Martello asked me that recently. He goes, "Are you working on anything else?" I'm like, man, it's really hard. I really want to complete this, and then I want to move to the next thing. And maybe that could change. Art always changes, man. So like I would like to be able to do that, but for me, up until this point, I haven't been able to do that.
Well,
It's been a hindrance.
but my problem with it is, um, now I have so much shit that I don't know how to release it properly,
Right.
because now I don't want to. I've never been the type of artist that just wants to throw shit out there. You know what I'm saying, and not have some kind of plan with it. So like, I'm sitting on all these records now, and 100 Mad ain't gonna release all of them. I got too much.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I've been kind of working with Snow Goons now a little bit.
Hmm.
And they might release something for me, and that would be dope. Like shouts to Manu, like if he agrees to do that,
Yeah. Shout
that's
out to
cool.
Mon.
Um, but then like I still got all this other shit. I mean, I can release it independently, but will it get what I want
Traction.
it to
Right.
get? You know what I'm saying? Like, cause I'll tell you right now, man, I have 15 records. I have 15
I
full
saw a list you made
albums.
recently, and I was like, damn, that's crazy, man. It's a gift and a curse, like you have a ton of material, which is great. And most artists would love to have a ton of material. But I see like this the catch 22. It's like, how do I effectively put all of it out?
Yeah, cause
Like
cause I can, cause
I'll
I
give you an
can't.
example. I was when I was doing some press for my last album, Oslo, I was up at halftime with Eclipse and Riz. And uh he Eclipse had kind of made a statement. He's like, I get sent so much music every week, and I'm sure this goes for a lot of DJs with a name. He goes, I get sent so much music, weekly. It's hard to sift through. And he goes, a lot of artists have a lot of projects out, so like, and it's hard to sift through it all. And my joke back was, I was like, well, at least I got one thing going for me, because I only release an album every like once in a while. I'm like, if you see my name on there, you're like, oh shit, haven't seen this dude in a while. Maybe I should spend this. But I'm like, it's a gift, but at the same time, I would love to. I would, for me, a sweet spot would have 2 projects a year, like, because I could really work them the way that I
Yeah,
want to work them. I do think that if you like, I know that a lot of artists right now are releasing, 4 projects a year, 5 projects a year. I think that it almost as dope as they can be, I think for the listener it can be overwhelming. It's like, like it's almost like there's a it's not like it was back in the day where you had, 72 weeks of ads in the source leading up to your album. Like
yeah.
you don't need to be doing
Well,
all that.
people look forward to releases.
They look
You
forward
know what
to
I'm
that.
saying? Like
Yeah.
nowadays, it's like, I've had this conversation with a lot of artists about the attention spans nowadays,
Oh,
and that's like why I feel like I think that's maybe why I feel like I have to just keep doing shit constantly. I'm always doing something. If I'm not doing music, I got the fucking toy shit I do. I got the podcast shit I do. I got all this extra shit that I
being an
do.
artist, it's like you just have the need to create.
Yeah, so
It's
I
what you
have
do
all
with it.
that. But then like when I look at the list of the albums I have, I'm like, I mean, I'm 41 right now, right? I still tour pretty heavy. I put out 2 albums this year already. I plan to drop another one sometime in the fall if I get the videos done for it. But it's kind of like, where do I drop the record that Fredro produced? Where do I drop the record that Snow Goons is producing? I have an Ayatollah produced EP. Where do I drop that? Where do I drop the record I got with Young Z? Where do I drop the record I got with Pace? I can't drop them all in the same, like it's just it fucks
it's
with me.
tough.
It
But you
fucks
know
with me
what?
because I don't know what to do with it all. Is
But
what it is.
like I'm looking at the big picture because like if you think about it, like if you're like clearly you're doing this because you love making art and you're driven. There's a lot of artists like I love creating. I create at my own, I just create at my own speed, but I love it. If I didn't create it, if I couldn't create, I wouldn't live. Like I'll always make hip hop. I'll always make it.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of artists that don't feel that way, that they do it just because they're like, oh, it looks like I gotta make some more, I gotta make some more stuff. That's when like it's time to stop. Like there's a book I read recently, The War of Art, and they talked about like art should always like you should always have a feeling about what you create. They said like the actor Peter Fonda at 75 years old said every time before he got on stage, he still was almost threw up. And everyone's like, they couldn't believe it because they were like, yo, you're Peter Fonda, man. Like you should just be dialing this in at this point. He goes, if I was dialing it in, I wouldn't be an art, I wouldn't be feeling it. So it's like embrace that like that drive, but you have to a degree, you have a good problem because you have so much content and because you're so driven as an artist.
Mm.
But it doesn't answer the question, of course.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just saying, like, because obviously I know some of the records um that Hunter Mad have talked to me about they wanted to release, and obviously now that I got this Fredro record pretty much wrapped, I just got to do like a couple things on it. Um, and then they wanted to release my Cellar Dwellers record. Uh, and then I also got a record with one of the other producers, like Vincent Price. I'm not sure if you met
Oh
him.
yeah, I got to join with him on his project.
Yes.
Dope.
Oh, yeah. I fucking mixed and
Oh, you
mastered.
did? Yeah, dope ass. Yeah, I finally met him in person at the Onyx show. Very good dude and dope producer. Shout out to Vincent Price.
Yes, yes.
But that's a crazy thing, if you think about this, if you think about 15-year-old you being like, damn man, like I got a record produced by Fredro Starr, like it's like it puts everything in perspective, man. Like that's what I always think about too. It's just like it's crazy that like people you grew up, idolizing want to fuck with you, man. Like
It
that's a
is. It is super crazy because Onyx is one of my favorite groups of
yeah,
all
man.
time.
I,
So like, yeah, I mean that's definitely a super dope
hold on,
thing.
stand by really quick, 3 seconds. I'm gonna pull something out,
Yeah, yeah.
bro. I still got the back the fuck up
Oh shit.
set.
The cassette
I
joint.
got the cassette joint here, man. Still smells like when you bought it from the store and it had that like fresh off the press smell.
Yeah,
Like
man.
huge influences.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made them sign my back to fuck up vinyl when they
Hell
stopped
yeah.
through Milwaukee.
Hell yeah.
But
I missed their show in New York the last time, but I do remember there was about 17 acts going on before them. I think those acts were starting at like 6 p.m.
mm,
Um, but I would sit through it all to see Onyx, man. I've seen them a few times. I got this is another moment of hip hop that I'm always like grateful for, getting to this point. I remember one time going down with Manu down to Baltimore. It was me, Manu, and Raz, and our boy Patrick, who had managed us at the time, and
mm,
uh, and Onyx was playing the soundstage in Baltimore. So I just went and watched him rock out. And again, like I don't have a deep relationship with Onyx. I'm a huge fan, but I've met them. Of course, like Perry's like my good homie. So I'm just coming as a fan, and after the show, I watched. This was crazy, man. You want to talk about the hunger for like the sport? Raz hits me up Fred Joe and everyone else is in one room, and I'm looking for Raz, and Raz is actually hitting me. He's like, "Where are you right now?" And I'm like, "Bro, I'm looking for you." He's like, "Come to this room at the hotel." Blah blah blah. Find the room. I knock on the door, and it's so crazy, man. All of a sudden, Sticky like opens the door. He's like, "Come here, come in, come in." And I walk in. And it's just those two, and they are arguing about who's nicer. And then literally the both of them start battling like that. You talk about, two, like you love, like when you love the sport, and like you love, like you're talking about two true fucking artists right there. There was
Oh
no one
yeah.
in there was no one in that room except for me, and these two are just, arguing, spitting, going at, like, friendly, these are homies. And I'm just sitting in this chair, and I'm like, damn, man, you told fucking 16-year-old me I'd be sitting in a room right now with Sticky and Razcast watching them fucking talk, battle over who's nicer. I'm like, I would have told you were crazy. And then of course they both looked at me. They're like, so like, who got it? And then I was like, I'm not saying. I'm like, I'm gonna look. Yeah, like, yeah. I say,
I'm not picking sides on
yeah. If
this.
I say Raz got up, Sticky's gonna beat me up. I'm like, if I say Sticky's got it, Raz never gonna talk to me again. I'm like, oh man, I was just like, yo, I'm just happy to be here, man.
You picked the perfect answer. Pick the
Yeah, that's
perfect
it.
answer.
That's it. But it's like shit like that, like, man, you think like 1% of the population gets to experience that. I'm sorry, 1% of artists get to exist with their heroes, man. Like, so
Yeah.
like, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think as I've gotten older, I've expressed a lot of gratitude, and that's what I'm happy about. So like, I will always continue to make music. And then whatever happens at that point happens. Like, I can't think about the what ifs anymore, because
Hmm.
every time I thought about the what ifs, all the what ifs I thought about, something completely fucking different happened.
Yeah, man.
I also think it's dope, just on another note, I think because of the age that hip hop is at now, you may have dealt with this. I mean, I definitely dealt with this when I hit like my early 30s. People were like, "Yo, like, you're nice, but like, hang it up. It's a young man's
Oh
sport."
yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
everyone told you that. But hip hop is at an age now where like there are so many 30, 40, 50 somethings that, like, I mean, all these shows celebrating hip hop 50 has clarified that, like selling out arenas, like the fans are there. Hip hop has now evolved to an age where, like, with the music that we're doing, there's a lot of people checking it. There's an audience. There wasn't an
Mhm.
audience for a hot second, and that's why everyone was telling you to hang it up at the time, or telling me to hang it up. I'll always do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I feel that 100%, man. Um.
And then you see the legends, bro, that, like, you see the legends that, like I said, like Onyx, for example. Onyx has never taken their foot off the gas. And that's why Onyx is where Onyx is. Onyx is on the road constantly. Onyx is, they're both fucking dope as hell. They put on a crazy show. Not a
Yeah.
lot of people from their era can, there's a few others, but a lot of them, when I see them come back to perform, like, they've been gone for a while. It's like playing a sport, or juggling
Hmm.
or something. A lot of guys that came back that are juggling two balls. Onyx is juggling, fucking 36 chainsaws, man. Like, like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you got to keep those blades sharp, man. And like that, and I watch people like that, and then it inspires the shit out of me every time. So I'm just honored to be around it.
Yeah, man. I mean, you've been doing music for, I mean, probably as long as I've been
Yeah,
doing music. Is there any artists that you've always wanted to see in hip hop perform that you have not seen?
Big Daddy Kane. I've still never seen Big Daddy Kane rock,
Hmm.
and
Me neither. I haven't either actually.
I've always been a huge influence. Um, and if I could resurrect the deceased, I would have loved to have seen Big L perform. I never saw Big L rock.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think that's one that, like, because I do go to events, but I'm not at events like a lot of the, like in New York. When you go to a hip hop event, you see the same cast of characters over and over again.
Mm. Mm.
It's almost like I say it's like wrestling. It's like there's like tiers of artists, and don't get me wrong, everyone should be there. Like they're fans, but you know you go to an event like a perfect example. Like one night I went with Preem to like a West Side Gun show at Sony Hall actually where we rocked,
Okay.
and I went downstairs to like the the dressing room, and it was so funny, man. It was like the 7 layers of hip hop. You know, at the top of the steps were like the you know there's the curmudgeons. You know, there's the you know the dudes that not really nice, but they've been around for a minute. They're hangers on. And then like the next layer was like the dudes that got a name in New York, and then the next layer is like the bigger cat. And by the time you got down to like the dressing room, it was like MOP's down there, and by the time you got in the dressing room, like Busta Rhymes wasn't real. And I'm like, yo, this is the 7 layers of hip hop, man.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't really I perform I've told somebody this recently. I perform more than I go to shows.
Yeah.
Um, cause yeah, once I started heavy touring, I've never stopped. Like it's never been um I just never stopped doing it. I feel like I constantly have to do it because I feel like that's how you build the real fan
You make
base.
That's exactly how you do it, and you make genuine connections with people. That's the difference, man. Like people see you, they talk to you afterwards, they buy merch. Like that's the way to build a
Yeah.
fan base. That's always the way. It's those personal experiences. Like there's a few artists that really like that weren't even in the genre of hip hop that woke me up to that like they were selling kind of more fan experiences, and like they were just making these genuine connections with the fans. People want that,
Mhm.
I get back to every like not that up, I'm getting 1,000 emails a day, but like anyone that hits me up, man, I'm always getting back to them like a huge appreciation. If I show up at a show and somebody has I've been to a couple, I haven't toured since I haven't been on tour since 2017, but like the last time I went out with JMO Gang, like we did a Canada run and then we did a US run. There was a few shows where like people would show up with like an album of mine and were like, yo, can you sign like all stuff like that, man, is like I
Yeah.
express gratitude
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
those genuine connections. It's funny, I was fucking with Preem because every time even if I'm at dinner with this dude, because we'll just go out and eat and bullshit. People are always coming up to him. Of course, it's fucking premiere. So one night we were at the Blue Note watching our homie Brady Watt do a show. It was phenomenal, producer, bass player, and me and Preem are sitting at a table together. And when the show got over, there was 3 dudes that came up, and Preem's kind of like, hey, hold on one sec, and then they like went around and like, hey, El Gant, can we get a picture with you? and and I looked at Freem. I'm like, yo, man, can you hold the camera? Can you take this picture? Luckily, he thought it was funny, but I'm like, yeah. For every 100 times I'm that guy. Like I'm like, finally, I'm like, here, go take a picture of us.
That's hey man. That's what it is. That's what it
I was like, yeah,
is.
I'll take it where I can get it.
Yeah, man. Speaking of touring, you said you haven't gone out since 2017. Um, give me a crazy tour story, man.
Oh man. I'll tell you. Okay, I got a funny one for you. So I have a lot of fun stories with Raz. Of course, he's a fun guy to go out on the road with. Him and I have fought like brothers on the road, and but we have a good time. But I remember we did this tour. It was me and him and our boy Spawn Vicious, who's also he's the tour manager for Jazzy Jeff. Uh,
Okay.
really, and he records Black Thought, like one of my favorite humans. And I didn't really know him well until this tour, and we end up doing like the whole like we did Seattle, Spokane, we did a couple dates in Missouri. We had this crazy night in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I had a homie that booked a show for us there, And so this is two. By the way, these 2 nights are back to back. So we do the show in Jackson Hole. While we're on stage, this is in the mountains, man. These 3 mountain men, I thought they were going to want to kill us, but they end up digging the show, man. They're like really into it. So they're just handing shots of Johnny Walker Black onto the stage, just 20 shots. And we're like, we don't know what to do with this stuff. If we drink this, we're going to die. So we hand some out to the fans. Razzie ends up like top because Raz is very good with fans, man. He'll stay till the janitor's sweeping and chat with people, which he taught me, which I always thought was a good thing. But he ends up like chatting with these guys the whole night. He's like, "Yo, man, I'm gonna go out with like Billy Bob and Wally and this guy. We're gonna go out." And I'm like, "All right, man, I'm gonna go back to the crib." So Raz ends up going out the whole night with these dudes. I don't know. These guys are shooting elk. I don't know what they're doing. And then the Razzie comes back at 5 a.m, and I just hear, "Hello," and then he opens the door. He's like, "Don't kill me," and then eats a bunch of tacos and falls asleep. So the next day we drive to Salt Lake City to do our show, and then we were going to drive back to LA, which is 15 hours. So we do the show in Salt Lake, and we had a hotel room. But after the show, Raz is like, "Man, I don't feel like staying here. It's like 1 a.m. Like, if we start driving now, man, like we can make it back to LA by, tomorrow afternoon or something like that." I'm like, "I'm up for it, man." Like I was wide awake. So there's a girl standing outside of the venue, and she's like this hippie girl, and she's like, she was there. Apparently, Abstract Rude and Micah 9 had a show that same night in the town. So she was there for that show, but she didn't know where she was. But long story short, she was just like, "Hey, really good to meet you guys." Like, and we're like, "Hey, we're about to drive. We're gonna get out of here." She's like, "Where are you going?" We're like, "LA." She's like, "Can I come?" Like, I was trying to go to LA anyway. And Raz is like, "Nah, I don't know about all that." She's like, "I'll pay for gas." So we're like, "Damn, it's a 15-hour drive. That's a lot of gas, man." So Raz is like, "Man, you always need a hippie in the entourage." He's like, let's bring her with us, man. Let's bring. She seems like she's cool. Then there was an extra seat, so I'm like, okay. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, if you pay for gas, I'm like, we'll drive you to LA. She's like, cool. I just got to stop at my house and pick up my guitar and my crystals. So, we go to her house, and her mom goes, and no, it's like me, Raz, and Spawn. Her mom comes out while she's getting her guitar and crystals, and her mom's like, "You guys, now you see, like, you see the 3 of us. I mean, we are nice guys, but like, she probably walked out there like, what the fuck?" Like, she's like, "You're gonna drive my daughter to LA," and I'm in the driver's seat. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Like, she's like, "You guys aren't gonna like take advantage of her or anything, no?" We're like, "No, like." And she goes, "I just want to let you know her father's in the Persian mob. So like, if anything happens to her, you guys are going to be found dead in the desert." So I'm like, "I promise you, like, she's safe with us." She goes, "Okay, in that case, here's some Chex Mix," and gives us a bag of Chex Mix. So we end up driving her back to LA. She tells us these crazy stories the whole time. Fast forward like a few years now, I talk to her like once a week on Instagram. She lives in like Maui. She's like this. She's still a friend.
That's what's up, man. That's crazy.
Put a hippie in the entourage, man.
Yeah, man. That's got a father in the Persian mob. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a million like scuffles and fights. But I mean, everyone's seen that. I'm like, but I like stories like that, man.
That's dope. That's crazy. Yeah, that's dope, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fun, man. I don't want to keep you too much longer. What is it, like 10:20 there, something like this? 10:30 almost.
Something like that.
Yeah, man. I mean, this has been super dope though. Oh, here's one thing I wanted to ask before we part ways. So I've known you since probably like I said, the MySpace era, probably 02, 03, somewhere in there or something. And we didn't meet in person until South by Southwest 2015 with DJ Starscream. And I didn't even know who that was.
You didn't know that day?
I knew that. I didn't know until you explained to me who that was. Because I know Slipknot, but I know Slipknot by the name of Slipknot.
Right, and there's 9 of them, yeah, or however many of them.
So I didn't know that. I mean, you explained it to me that day. So how does that connection happen?
Man, really? I met him so my manager at the time, Patrick, who I still talk to this day, good, really good dude. I don't know how he was connected with Sid, but he made the connection with the both of us. And Sid at the time, he had a studio in LA in Venice Beach. You know, if you see that iconic when they take pictures of Venice Beach, there's like a Venice Beach sign that like it's like in a bunch of pictures. He literally had a studio right there. And
Mm.
he I somehow I got connected and I ended up going to his studio once when I was in LA. And and by the way, Sid is just like just such a good human, and super talented dude. And like he's been, an icon for years. And Sid, being in Slipknot, a lot of people didn't know that at the time. Sid is very into hip hop. A huge fan. I mean, but he's the DJ for Sid is one of the illest. He can cut like he's one of the illest DJs. So I got connected with him. I met him in the studio that day, and we vibed out, and we had done a little bit of music together. And then I went back late, and I stayed. I blew a fucking air mattress up and stayed on the floor of his studio. And it was
Mm.
me and Patrick, my man Busy, and we recorded a couple joints. At one point, Killer Priest came by. Um,
Oh, crazy.
so we just became cool, and then we did a tour together. We did a tour in 2015 called the Texas Takeover, and there was a few openers, but then it was me and Sid, and so he DJ'd and I MC'd, and then it was Scarface, Bum B, Be Real of Cypress Hill, Bone Thugs and Harmony was the headliner, Zero, like it was Slim Thug, like it was all like legends.
That's a crazy tour.
Crazy tour, bro. And it was like 6 cities in Texas. So I was opening a restaurant at that time, and I was doing it was Tex-Mex food. So I was down there eating, testing food out and touring at the same time. But yeah, so that's when Sid and I really bonded, because we hung out hard, man.
So it was
Another
like right around the time I met you then.
Yeah, so yeah, and then I think then we went to Austin after that. Yeah, and I think that's when I met you, um, and finally in person. But yeah, the shows were crazy. They were in like big arenas, man. There's two funny things I remember about this specifically. The first night of the tour, yeah, because when there were so many Slipknot fans there. Like I know Slipknot. I'm a fan. I didn't realize how big their fan base was when that flyer came out. Sid Wilson of Slipknot and El Gant, like I meant nothing. They just knew that Sid Wilson of Slipknot. There were so many Slipknot fans at this show just to see him DJ. Um, it was crazy. And then the first night he was signing an autograph for like someone in a wheelchair. He's just such a good dude. Somebody took his cell phone. We took the next 3 hours tracking. We were tracking his cell phone through like we're talking about the border of Texas and Mexico.
Oh, damn.
Found that shit the next day. Some dude had it at his house in the backyard, and it got the phone back.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man.
But I would actually, Sid and I became cool enough where like there was a few dates where like I went to a few dates with Slipknot on tour playing arenas, and afterwards Sid would do after parties and he would spin and I would rap.
Oh,
So yeah,
cool.
we just became cool after that, man. And it was a fun ride, man. He's just such a great dude, and he's 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 doing great, man. He just had a child last year. Like
Oh, that's what's up. Congrats to him, man. That's
those
what's up.
guys. What I can't do is those dudes smoke weed harder than anyone I know. So that I had to prepare myself for. And then actually that week that we were at South by Southwest, I think it was that same night after I met you at that event, there was a big show for Roadrunner Records. And Roadrunner Records is the original label that Slipknot was on. They built Roadrunner Records, and we got to the door and they were like, "Sorry, it's a closed party." Uh and Sid was real humble about it. He goes, I'm Sid from Slipknot. They were like, "Oh my God, we're so sorry. Yeah, come in, come in. Here's a space." He's like, "I built this." He didn't say this, but I'm like, "You built this label." Um, so yeah, he's a super talented artist, man. I'm just blessed to have spent time with him, and
Yeah.
hope he'll make some more music in the future. He was on the JMO Gang album. He featured in the video. Good, very good dude.
Yeah, man. That's dope, man. Um, but yeah, this has been super dope, man. I've enjoyed this. Obviously, every time I talk to you, man, I'll be like, "Hey, man, when you find time to shoot the
Yes.
video."
You know what? I was actually looking for the track. So just can you just resend it to me so it's at the top of my email and I you have my solemn oath.
Yes, I will. I will resend it to you, man.
A solemn oath, man.
Yes, I will
I'm
definitely
not,
resend it to you, man.
I'm
Um, I'm
knocking that.
I'm actually I'm gonna do it right when I get off this
Yeah,
podcast
yeah,
with
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
man,
got this.
this has been super dope, man. I appreciate you the fullest, man. This has been the Denku podcast. I had my special guest El Gant in the motherfucking house.
Yeah.
It's been dope. It's been presented by Cypher Den Music, where we inspire even those higher. And remember to never stop chasing your dreams, because you will never know what you are fully capable of.
Right.
Yes, that's how we're gonna leave that. I appreciate you again, man. Once the episode comes out, obviously I'll probably snatch some clips, and put them up there or whatever,
I
and
put
I'll
them up, man.
definitely
Yeah.
keep you posted, man.
I
So
appreciate you having me, man. Like this has been a good chat.
it's been a lot of fun, man. I think we definitely hit some information.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of things. So cool, man. I appreciate you again, and yeah, I'm sure we're cross paths in person in the future, and
Yeah, man.
and all that good stuff, man. So again, man, you have a good rest of your night.
All right, brother.
And peace.
Luke.